GPU as a service is a huge deal now. Why is that? And why will the rise of this technology change the way we look at AI and cloud forever? Let's talk about it. Welcome back to AI Insights and Innovation, the one place where you can understand the true application of AI technology for the enterprise. I'm your host, David Linthicum, internationally known expert and analyst with theCUBE Research. Let's get to work. So what is GPU as a service? Well, GPU as a service is on-demand access to high-powered GPUs via the cloud, enabling businesses to avoid hefty hardware costs while gaining computational power for AI, machine learning, rendering, and scientific workloads. So the reason that we're so focused on GPU as a service because GPUs are purpose-built for the parallel processing ideal for workloads like AI, machine learning, real-time 3D rendering, and simulations. So a comparison would be if we're looking at a CPU-based system, they can handle general purpose computing. However, GPUs and GPU as a service are tailored for compute-intensive tasks, offering unparalleled speed and efficiency. And unless you haven't been monitoring the news recently, everybody is after GPUs and the ability to access them either by buying a physical GPU, such as those from NVIDIA and people hoarding them as well, but the ability to access them as a service either through a traditional cloud provider like AWS, Microsoft, or Google, or now we're seeing the rise of these GPU as a service providers such as CoreWeave, and we're going to talk about that. So CoreWeave was founded in 2017, and they originally were focused on cryptocurrency mining, but pivoted to GPU as a service in 2022, capitalizing on the exploding need for cloud GPUs in AI and other industries. So CoreWeave is a standout because they're a pioneer in this area. So they specialize and excel in offering tailored GPU-intensive systems for AI and ML workloads, VFX rendering, and scientific computing. So they're partnered with NVIDIA. NVIDIA has a minority share in the company. CoreWeave provides the cutting-edge GPUs such as H100 and A100 chips, giving them a technological edge over their competitors. So their partnership with NVIDIA allows them access to this technology, which I think some of their partners are finding a little bit more difficult to acquire. CoreWeave is poised to go public. They may have gone public by the time this podcast launched, with an anticipated valuation of $35 billion. That's a lot of money. This IPO will fund CoreWeave's expansion into data centers and innovation in its product offerings. So the key stats would be the skyrocketing revenue. So they went from $1.92 billion in 2024 to 737% year-over-year increase. Over 60% of its revenue comes from partnerships with Microsoft, aiding AI initiatives for the enterprise. So they have a global data center presence and currently operating 32 GPU-focused data centers, and they aim to expand to over 40 by the end of this year, 2025, ensuring global scalability and reducing latency by putting points of presence closer to where the GPUs are going to be consumed and used. Notable clients include Meta, OpenAI, and IBM, who rely on CoreWeave's GPUs for tasks such as large-scale AI modeling training and real-time inference. So what are some of the challenges that CoreWeave is running into? Obviously, heavy reliance on NVIDIA chips. That's what they're doing, and that's only what they're doing, which owns a minority stake in the company, which makes sense. Sustaining profitability is going to be another challenge for them, while scaling aggressively. In the net loss in 2024 was $863.4 million. And that's basically removing cash available to CoreWeave for research and development and other expansion needs. Beyond CoreWeave, other GPU as a service providers also exist. So what are some of the other GPU as a service providers out there? CoreWeave is not the only game in town. Like CoreWeave leads in specializing services, the growth of GPU as a service has driven many smaller providers to carve out a niche in this space as well. Here are some non-Big Three providers, non-AWS, Microsoft, or Google, that are making significant waves in the market. So besides CoreWeave, who are the other GPU as a service providers out there? Well, first would be Lambda Labs. Lambda Labs now offers GPU as a service tailored for AI research and development. Their specialty is they're providing pre-configured environments for AI ML, very much like CoreWeave frameworks like TensorFlow and PyTorch, making it easy for research teams to onboard these systems. Some of the notable features would be multi-GPU setups for advanced AI training, and their client base is very diverse, with over 10,000 research teams using this service globally. Another GPU as a service provider to consider would be Paperspace Core Overview. Known for seamless usability, Paperspace Core provides GPU instances optimized for AI ML workloads, very much like CoreWeave. The key features include integrated Juniper notebooks for quick experimentation, and the competitive pricing compared to CoreWeave for GPU compute strengths. And some of the strengths that they have focus on cloud-native AI development and deployment. Another GPU as a service provider would be Vast.ai. They provide a market-first provider that connects users to underutilized GPU resources, offering cost-efficient options for GPU rentals. So, some of the unique selling points would be the ability to provide peer-to-peer model reduces the cost. They actually allow people to sell their GPU space to others who are willing to consume it and pay for that consumption. They're able to support NVIDIA GPUs from RTX 6000s to H100s, and they're typically going to be perfect for those organizations that are looking for a complete AI customization for the particular platform that they're going to use. Next would be Jarvis Labs. Based in India, Jarvis Labs provides affordable GPU services aimed at smaller startups and individual developers. Some of the key features include no credit card required to register for the service. In other words, you can try it just to try it. Simple interface for rapid setup, and their target audience that they're going after is going to be primarily entry-level ML researchers, people who are looking for GPUs as a service to be leveraged at a discount. Next would be FluidStack, a challenger that prioritizes cost effectiveness. FluidStack operates with an emphasis on affordable GPU instances for startups and small businesses. Some of the unique features they offer include GPU instances available for under $1 an hour for lower-end configurations. Next would be TensorDock. It launched in 2020. TensorDock focuses on short-term demand availability for rendering projects and other GPU-driven workloads. Their specialty is going to be pay-per-use business model, perfect for use cases with short processing times, such as VFX rendering or simulations. Next would be RunPod. Known for offering flexible GPU deployments, RunPod specializes in tasks like model fine-tuning and inference pipelines. Some of the key features they provide, they allow multi-GPU combinations, and it's ideal for deep learning workflows. And finally, DataCrunch.io. They're a European-based GPU as a service provider. They emphasize renewable energy sources for their GPU servers, if that's important to you. Some of the specialties include strong presence in the European market, of course, because that's where they are. And they offer GPUs such as NVIDIA's A100s and H100s efficiently priced, meaning they're going to be a pretty good value. So how do you break all this down? Well, if you look at the feature comparison, CoreWeave focuses on enterprise scale applications, and they have unmatched capabilities with their core NVIDIA partnership, including NVIDIA owning a stake within the company. So that may be best for companies that are looking for lower risk solutions. Vast.ai, they're best for cost-conscious startups due to its marketplace model. And Lambda Labs and Papersource, they're targeted at research teams with tailored AI tools and notebooks. Also consider Jarvis Labs and FluidStack. They're affordable, user-friendly options for smaller businesses and individuals. So what is the impact on the competition out there and the emergence of this market? This diversity in providers challenges the dominance of AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. That's kind of the secret here that no one's talking about, driving innovations in price and performance. So no longer do we need to depend on only the big three cloud providers to provide core AI capabilities, even though they do so now. So in other words, you can leverage GPU systems through a large public cloud provider or through some of these micro clouds or the GPU as a service providers that we just talked about. So that's going to be game-changing in the market, and we did see this in the last quarter as well. While AI is driving a huge expansion in the cloud computing marketplace, we're seeing a weakness in growth with the big major public cloud providers, AWS, Microsoft and Google. They had less than stellar quarters. And even though that's not going to be something I'm sure is going to remain to be the case, they're smart people. They're going to know how to, take advantage of the market. We're suddenly in a very crowded space when it comes to leveraging AI systems and the resources needed to power those systems, such as GPU and storage. And we're going to see a bunch of smaller cloud providers, GPU as a service providers, micro clouds that start to pop up that give the big three a run for their money, that are just as easy to use as the big three. And if in a cost comparison, typically going to be cheaper and bring more value back to the enterprises that leverage them. So that may be something that the big three cloud providers find difficult to overcome. So what are some of the challenges? Well, rising energy costs, high power consumption of GPUs. GPUs take a lot of power and they could face environmental scrutiny. People are building data centers all over the place, and local and state governments are starting to push back on them. Smaller providers could struggle to differentiate themselves from the giants like CoreWeave. Believe it or not, CoreWeave is a giant, and NVIDIA DGX. Regional availability is also going to be an issue. So concentration of providers in specific geographies like CoreWeave in the US may limit global adoption. So in other words, if you have the majority of points of presence in a particular country, and trying to sell these services in other countries could be a bit of a challenge, because they're concerned not only about the latency of the network, having the servers reside outside of the country, thousands and thousands of miles away, but also the compliance issues. If you have a service that operates in a particular country, they're going to typically be more aware of the regulatory constraints of that country. So kind of keep that in mind, that this may be a regional play for some of these GPU as a service providers. So exciting times. The future outlook for GPU as a service providers, I think, is bright. CoreWeave's IPO as a catalyst is really a measure in terms of the popularity of this technology. CoreWeave public debut could set a precedent for other GPU-focused startups to explore IPOs as investment starts flowing in that direction. Expect innovations in cloud-based edge GPU, hybrid capabilities, AI-dedicated chips from providers like Lambda Labs and TensorDock. With competition growing, pricing for basic GPU as a service tasks should drop like they are now, certainly as compared to the big three provider, further democratizing this access to this very powerful technology. This will allow smaller companies that can't afford the cloud prices that are out there right now to punch above their weight, because they're going to be value-added alternatives, either going with first-tier GPU provider like CoreWeave, or going with many of the more discounted options that I named earlier. So what's the conclusion? Well, GPU as a service is changing cloud computing forever. That's going to be the case. So some of the key points that we need to consider: GPU as a service is revolutionizing industries by enabling scalable, fast, and cost-efficient AL, ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning, and other high-performance workloads, allowing them to run these workloads at a discounted price. CoreWeave is leading the charge with its IPO, and NVIDIA partnership positions it as the true disruptor to the big three cloud providers. Dozens of smaller players like Paperspace and Vast.ai are offering niche solutions, creating a highly competitive market. And so they're going to disrupt the disruptors who are out there. So what's the call to action? With so many providers to choose from, in the comments below, tell me which GPU as a service platform fits your needs. Share your thoughts, tell us what you're doing, tell us where you're taking this technology if you're leveraging this technology. So thanks for watching. I encourage you to keep up with the updates on CoreWeave's IPO. I certainly will, and the advancements in GPU as a service. Do so right here at theCUBE. And ultimately, GPU as a service is the engine of the next cloud revolution. I think CoreWeave and its competitors are fueling this for the future. So don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.